So I'm first going to share the sample solution to string length map 1, but I'm going to do it in string length map 2, and then we're going to change the code. So there are a couple of steps that you had to fill in. It says create your map here, so let's do that. You already have this part, but I don't yet. So I'm going to create a map where the keys are integers and the values are strings. I'm going to call it words, and I'm going to make a new tree map because I do want to iterate it in sorted order. All right, so that should be the same as what you have. There's already code here that went through the file for us and got the length of each word. That's not new. But what I did want to share with you is I'm going to uncomment this. This is my sample solution, which should be similar-ish. I mean, there's certainly different ways of doing it, but similar-ish to what you have for this activity. So how did I choose to do it? So first thing I did is in the map, I get the key is the length of the string, right? So I get use the key to get the value, which may or may not exist. If it doesn't exist, it returns null. The new word I need to add is I just assigned to the variable new value here. You'll see why I did this, even though I already have it up here in a moment. And then string is going to be the string that will be the new value associated with this key. So if old value is not equal to null, actually if old value is equal to null, then the value for this key value pair is going to simply be the new value, right? I don't need to concatenate anything. However, if the old value isn't null, that means the key was already in the map. And so this new word I need to tack on to the end of the existing string. So I take the old value, I concatenate a comma and a space, and then I put the new value there to like build up my string. Regardless of what I've done here, by the time this conditional if else has finished, string is set to what I want the value to be, so I can simply put it into the map. If it's never been in the map, it's now in the map. If it already was in the map, then the value is replaced with the new value for the same key. Okay, so your code probably looks somewhat similar to this. Let's pause there before we make this any more complicated. Questions about this solution? There's nothing new here yet concept-wise, but I still want to make sure we're okay with it. Okay. Here's a different approach. Okay. So this is all in your notes, right? If all these comments are here, so this will be a good reference for you later. We can solve this problem using the merge method of the map class. So there's a merge method on the map class. This is a method I want you to be familiar with from a programming perspective. This is not a method you're expected to be able to use on our chapter 15 exam, just to be clear about the expectations at this point. The merge method takes two parameters. The first parameter is the key. The second parameter is the value to associate with that key if the key is not already in the map. And then the third parameter is a reference to a method. And here's a new idea that we've never done in Java before. We're going to pass a reference to a method to another method. Okay, so we're passing around a method as if it were an object. Okay, that's the new tricky concept. We're not used to thinking about methods as things we can pass to other methods. Okay? The method that we pass must take two parameters. The first parameter is the value currently in the map, and the second parameter is the value to merge with the value already in the map. Okay, the method must return the merged value. Okay, that's why the method's called merge. And that merged value will be added to the map. This method is only called if the key is already in the map, if there's already an association. If there's no key in the map, this method won't be called because we don't have to merge anything. We're just going to put the new value in there. Okay. And so then I have, so that was a lot. So like what really happens if I were to write the code, if we were to open up the code for the merge method and read through it, it would look like this. Okay. And I'm using the same variables that I just used in my sample solution to help make that connection. So the code that's inside the merge method, it calls the get method on the map. It's passing along the key, and it stores that in old value, just like we did in our code. Okay. If old value is equal to null, new value is simply set to the value, just like we did in our code. If old value is not equal to null, that is, if the key was already in the map, instead of just doing the concatenation like we did in our code, it calls a function instead. It calls this remapping function, passes the old value, and passes the value to be merged. Okay, that function returns the new value. There's some behavior like if the function returns null, it actually removes the key. We don't really care so much about that today. But if not, which it won't in our case, it then does the same thing we did. It calls put on the map, specifies the key, and specifies the new value. So all this code is what's inside of, this is the implementation of the merge method. So we can save ourselves some time by not writing all the code we wrote up here and just using the merge method instead. Okay. So I want to kind of show you how that works. I'm going to comment out my code here. And instead, I'm going to use the merge method here. Maybe we already had word and length from up above, right? Yep. Okay. So I'm going to say words, which is the variable that references the map, dot merge. Thank you. Words dot merge. And the first parameter, as we might remember, has to be the key. So that's the length. The second parameter is the value to associate with the key if the key isn't already in the map. So that would just be the word. And the third parameter is a reference to the method that we're about to write. And I have some room for that down here. We're going to write the method down here in just a second. So I'm going to specify it now, and it won't compile yet, but that's okay. The way we're going to refer to this method is with the class name, string length map2, 2 colons. So this is some new syntax here. And the method. What's the method? Merge? Merge words. There we go. Call it like that. All right. It's not happy right now because we haven't written this method yet. So we're going to go write this method in a moment. But what's cool is this single line of code replaces all of this. Okay. That's why the merge method is super helpful. So let's go write this merge words method. So we're going to keep scrolling down, and you can see I wrote a java.comment block for this merge words method. So I'm going to say static string merge words, and it takes the old value. I'm going to use the same parameter names here to match our first solution up above so we can keep making these connections. The second parameter is the new value. That's all documented right here for us. And then all we need to do in here is do the concatenation that we were doing before. So we can just say return old value dot concat. I'll do a comma and a space and new value. Cool. So basically, we just took one line from our first solution and put it in its own method, which is right here. And then we're passing. So again, let's pay attention to the syntax here. There's no parentheses after merge words. We are not invoking the merge words method. We're passing a reference to that method so that it can be called later, specifically so that it can be called inside of the merge method. That's what's going on here. So different syntax. I don't think we've ever used the double colon, and certainly a different concept. Let's pause here as well, because this is something very different. Questions about this using the merge method and passing a reference to a method as a parameter. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Let's see if I can do this. That's a great question. Your own. All right. So I set a breakpoint on words.merge. If I step into this, I am inside of the Java standard library's merge method. Okay. I'm going to also set a breakpoint in our merge method here so we can see when we get there. We have not got there yet. Okay. So as I'm stepping through the implementation of the maps merge method in the Java standard library, eventually we get to this line here where it says remapping function dot apply. That's how we call into our function. So if I step over this right now, oh, just kidding. Oh, it's not in the map yet. All right, we'll get there again. Let's keep going. Because it only calls our function if it actually has to merge something. So we'll step in, over, over, over. I don't know if this one's in the map or not. It's not. How exciting. All right, step in, over, over, over. Also not in the map. One of these will be in the map. Well, here, I can just run it. There we go. I can look at the stack trace. So here we're in our merge words method, and it was called right here if I look at the stack trace. Okay. So because the value, what the key was already in the map, now it called our method. So, but that was a long answer to your question of is does not call it when we call merge. It calls it while merge is running. And it calls it, yeah, if it needs to. Yep. So it's a later time. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Stop that for now. Other questions? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think I understand. Let me just, that's a really good point. Just let me restate that and see if I got it right. So you're remarking upon the fact of we're passing a reference here to merge words and we're not specifying any parameters, right? You're absolutely correct. Merge words has to take two parameters and return a string. If it didn't, if I changed one of these to like an int, this won't even compile because the types don't match. Okay. The reason why we don't specify, why we don't pass any parameters is because we're not calling the merge words method here. The merge words method is called here. Here is where it's passing the two parameters. And here is where it's assigning the return value to a variable. So we don't do that because the merge method passes the parameters later. But if we were to write a method that didn't take two parameters of the right type, it won't even compile. Because it says, no, 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 you need to pass me a reference to a method that has these two parameters. This is a lot of work to write this merge words method for something that's so straightforward. Like we're just making a single function call, and we're not going to call this merge words method anywhere else in our code. And so usually we don't bother with this. We make this even more concise. So I'm going to comment this out. Actually, I'll copy it. I'm going to paste it down here. Usually we don't define the method. We define it like inline. We use the what's called a lambda expression to define a method in the middle of like other code, which is a new idea, which is the new idea we're focused on today. The syntax for that uses what's called the arrow operator. This shows up in JavaScript like all the time. But let's see what it looks like from a Java perspective. So the way we would do this is we still call words.merge. We still pass the key. We still pass the new value. We don't pass a reference to a method. Instead, we're going to define the method right here. And the way we do that is we're going to specify the parameters, which is old value and new value. These parameters are not defined here. They're defined inside the merge method. But we know that the function that we have to pass as a reference as our third parameter has to take two parameters. So in these parentheses, we got to have two parameters. And these are the names of those parameters that we can now reference in our code. And then we can write our code right here. I can just say old value dot concat, and I can do my comma space thing and new value. And that's what an arrow function or a lambda expression looks like in Java. This part of code right here, this is the entire method definition, and we're passing a reference to it. This code is not running now. Okay, this code will be called later inside the merge method if needed, if we actually have to merge values. So this requires a different way of thinking about things, but what makes this so powerful is how concise it is. We took all of this code and turned it into this one line. Andrew. Yeah, I guess the merge method doesn't know if there's already a value in the map, it doesn't know what we want to do about it. In this case, we're concatenating strings, but maybe in a different case, we're going to like sum numbers. Maybe in another case, we're going to like get rid of the old value and just put in the new value. That's not a good example because we wouldn't need the merge method for that. But there's so many different ways we could merge our values. It can't possibly know what those are. So it's like you figure out whether things need to be merged or not and deal with all the map stuff. And I'm just going to give you a method to do the one little part that's like specific to me, which is merging the values. So that's what a Java Lambda expression looks like. We'll do more practice activities with these.